back. On WPCA, we're starting the WPCA regular meeting, 7:30, November 15th. I'm going to go over a quick agenda so everyone knows what we plan on talking about tonight, and then we'll get into the items. I hope everyone can hear me okay. We're going to have a call to order. We're going to have the approval of minutes. There's 2 meeting minutes that we're going to approve. Then we have a budget update. Then we have the main business, the Soundview Sewer Miscellaneous Area B, where we have clean water funding application, status of the additional funding, review of proposed sewer ordinance, public comments, correspondence, new business, public comment, and adjournment. So with that, I'm going to get into the approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, one from September 13th, 2022. And the reason why we're approving this meeting minutes is we didn't have a quorum at our last meeting. So we can't approve the minutes from the last meeting. So can I have a motion to approve the September 13th, 2022 minutes?
I make that motion.
Steve
second
voted.
it.
Frank was seconded. Randy, appreciate it. Andrea, I think appreciate it. Any questions, comments, concerns about those meeting minutes? Okay, not hearing any. All those in favor, in the room, I'll do a visual, and I'll then poll the members that are virtually. So all those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Randy, I see you've raised your hand. Andrea, how do you vote?
Yes. Approved.
That's a yes? Okay, it's a unanimous, motion passed. Thank you, everybody. The next one is for the meeting minutes from October 18th, and this is a little strange. We had meeting minutes, but we didn't have a quorum, so we didn't have any motions, no decisions were made. So I'm a little confused if it's even is minutes, but we were there, so we took minutes. So on faith, we're gonna approve the meeting minutes and go from there. You can have a meeting.
No decision.
Yeah, no decisions. We went through the agenda and we had a discussion. I talked. Yeah, I guess. So can I get a motion to approve? So I think Dimitri did a motion and Frank seconded. All those in favor of approving the October 18th?
Aye.
So like 3-3. Do you guys want to vote? You can vote yes or no or abstain. Okay. And if you don't have to attend the meeting too, you can vote any which way. Joe, how do you vote? Yes. Did you catch that Steve abstain? Randy, how did you vote?
Yes.
4. Andrea, how did you vote?
I vote yes.
Okay, so the motion passed. Now we're moving to the next item of budget update and expense planning. Steve, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I passed around to the people here. Sorry. Start budget summary. Basically, from last month, we just extended another for to record the meetings minutes. $1,422 for this year, fiscal year. We spent $3,211.57, including the Carmarty bill of $29.98, which is about $85,210.42. There's an outstanding bill that Sussman Shapiro for $55.50 that I have approved but I think Rich needs to put his stamp on it.
Okay.
And then there's a request for budget estimates going forward that I looked at just briefly. I think it came in today from Nicole. And I'll look at that more, give it a shot, and then we'll go over to Rich to.
Okay. So I hope everyone heard what he said. The key line item is we have remaining balance of $85,210.43. We have a couple bills that are outstanding, but they're very minor, $55 in one and $1,054.50 in another. And I'm only repeating this because I'm not sure the microphone carries, Steve. I need to approve of the $55.50. I'll look for that. And we have a request for budget estimates from our Director of Finance, which is normal this time of year. Any questions about the budget or financing?
No,
Yes, Andrea?
I said no questions.
Oh, okay. All right. There's also no new invoices that I'm aware of, the ones we've already discussed.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at the 1100.
Yeah, that one, 1,154.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So the next line item is clean water funding application status. So we were told we had to fill out the application again, and thank God we didn't have to. Wood and Curran, our engineering, kind of made a persuasive arguments to say we've already did it. So we went back and said we already did it. And they asked for the IMAs from East Lyme and New London, which I reminded them we already sent them in. This is to the state of Connecticut's Department of Environmental Energy Protection. So I sent them again. Yesterday. And I'm going to start following up with our contacts every week to find out when we can get approval, which means then we can get approval for funding and loans for the design part of this project. Now, that design parts is $615,200. Wood and Curran quoted us that, signed us, and they have not raised the price. I told them they can't raise the price, and they agreed to it. We're obligated to pay that.
Is the design done?
I was told it's like 50 to 60% done.
We're not paying. Well,
I don't know.
we have terms.
We have terms that say we have to complete it and do it. And I don't know if we have to go to the state and say, is the project on or off? So if it's off because there's no funding, do we have to complete this? This is the subject I brought up a couple of times, and I can see the wheels spinning in your head. And I think it's the same thing I'm thinking about it. Do we have to do this? Does it make sense to do it? We have some obligation for work. It seems as if Wood and Curran would bill us for what they have done. There is another subcontractor to Wood and Curran that did some surveys that wants some money. And to do this, if we agree to, in our contract for Wood and Curran says we agree on the schedule of the rates once DEEP approves it. So we have to have a discussion about that with the DEEP of saying, do you approve it? And then all those other issues surrounding. And this is kind of getting into the second item, granting, but I think it's still a good conversation. I had a discussion with one of the private beach association members that are putting sewers in, and he confirmed what I also thought. We're in it together. It's not like we could say, well, we're just going to go ahead without them. The costs become too expensive. And they are running down potential fundings, but nothing looks promising of what we need, the magnitude of what we need. I'm going to summarize it as we've asked for 14 million. I think we need 10 or 11 million for the whole group, not just us. And it looks like we're like maybe 2 million, as far as grants. But they haven't exhausted everything. So when they do exhaust everything and the private beach association's loans expire, which they're coming up to, we then go to the state, I think, as a plan, say, here's where we are. You're gonna give us more money? Because the deep could give us more money. They say they can't, but we're told that they could. The treasurer of the state of Connecticut, treasurer, Mark Bowden, said he would talk to Deep. The first selectman of this town, Tim Griswold, had asked Richard Blumenthal and Mark Bowden when he saw him at, I don't know, some events. I guess Tim even chased Richard Blumenthal to his car, asking him. So we're getting to that point where we get approval for the funding for our design review. We have a contract to complete it. We finish paying off what work they've done. And part of that contract also includes going out to bid again. Or going out to bid for the first time. Sorry, for the first time for us, for our part. And this also helps us with this provides us a 20-year loan. So we don't have to do a lump sum payment back to, fill this contract. So it's almost like we have to go through with it, but how much do we have to go through with it? So I talked a lot. I don't know, is there questions, or maybe I went too quickly, or Steve, do you have a question?
Well, question, I think what I read is that DEP is giving a 1-year moratorium. They're not saying we don't have to do the project,
They're giving an extension to the loans.
to the loans.
That doesn't mean anything about stopping the project, but we get to the point of saying it's not economically feasible.
So this is, let's take, it's not economically feasible. Right now, we as a WPCA don't know if our portion of the project is not economic.
Well, we do, so our part is economically feasible if the other parts, at least from my assessment, the other entities would do it. But if they don't do it, that cost doesn't get reduced. It gets spread over a fewer number of people, which then makes our cost too expensive.
Except we don't know what our costs are, all we have are estimates about.
Right,
That's why I think that.
That's
To make
correct.
the argument that it's economically unfeasible, we have to bid our project.
Yeah, which means that we go through the whole design scope, which includes going out to bid. I heard one opinion about going out to bid that we will get 0 responses because the bidders know the status of the other beach associations in the project, so they won't waste their money bidding on something that they don't think the project is viable. But that's one opinion. It's interesting.
That's one opinion. As a contractor, I didn't think anyone was bidding on the job, but you want 3 bidders, you don't want 10.
Yeah,
3 bidders is fairly. Sometimes you can get 2 and still get more. 3 bidders usually is a standard that. You have 3 bidders and you're a bidder, you have a good shot at getting the job. I don't know. I mean, that could be no one's getting bid it because they know the status of the others, but it's not to say you can't do this project without pumps enforcement.
yeah.
You could, but it's going nowhere. I guess it's going into the ground. So but that's why it's a weird scenario where one entity.
What?
I mean, we're half the project is being done by by a group of people. Guess that's.
Yeah. Randy, did you want to make a comment?
Well, just a question. What do we owe the design engineers at the moment? Just-
So I don't have an exact number. The contract total is $615,200. They said it's about 50-60% completed. And that was not a formal estimate. That was a phone call estimate. So you can figure it out from there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we're in the neighborhood of 300K, right?
Yes, I would say that we're in that neighborhood, maybe 400. Steve thought maybe it's 400.
Yeah.
Dimitri, did you have a comment? No, you're right. So this is part of the full design includes, and this also includes going out to bid. Well, here's the scenario that I think Steve was referring to, and if I get it wrong, let me know. We find out that the projects, other partners in the projects can't fulfill their obligation, and therefore the state pauses this project. We might pay what we owe now and not go any further. Did I get that right, Steve?
Well, I would, so I'm leaning, I've thought about this a lot. I'm leaning to get the plans done, put it out to bid. And then if it fails, if we don't get bidders or if it's too expensive, we've gone through the whole step, proven to the state that it's economically unfeasible because the other part isn't done. If the state wants this project to go forward, they'll have to put out more money.
Yeah, well, going out to bid will be evidence, especially if the bids are like they were, way more expensive than the original planning was.
Right, I mean, the pipe that used to cost $50 a foot is $150 to $200. It's pricing is totally.
Get money, then you go to your design and bid, and try to put it again.
I agree with Steve.
I mean, the delta,
We're,
200,000.
we're talking here of options, but I want to point out, we might not have options. We approach the state and they might say, sorry, if you want that pause, you have to do this. You know, it's possible that they take away the option and make us do it.
I said you'll look back up, never.
Yeah, that's their history.
Never before.
Yeah, that's their history. I'm just wanted to bring up the issue because I want to evaluate it from all sides.
The other reason to finish the plans is that they'll be finished. You know, we won't have a half set of plans. What if when current raises their age and we have to go out because it's been 5 years of separation? At least we'll have a set of plans that's workable, that's integrated with the other beach associations.
That's true. That's
You know,
true.
we spent money. We'll have spent money with Fuss and O'Neill, assuming that no one changes engineering firms. We'll have a complete set of drawings to build a project if and when we do get the money.
So we're not doing a motion on here, but we still got some questions. Rob? Yeah.
So the town's gonna put in the 600 grand basically, and I mean, get the 20 grand.
So part of this is we put we get a 20-year loan. So we get the 25% grant towards applicable construction, and then we spread it out over 20 years, which, you know, means a different line item or a WPCA budget maybe. No, like 50,000 a year, you know, something like that.
Maybe less than that.
Well, you know,
600 divided by 20 is 300. 30%.
there's some other expenses that we would probably get tied in, the shared resources that the private beach association have done that we have not paid for.
Yep.
You know, their design, their land acquisitions, those kind of things. So it's probably gonna be more than 600,000. It's probably gonna be
Well, if it were a million, it'd be 50,000 a year.
Yes.
Plus 2%.
Yes.
I think the department is responsible.
That's, yeah, I don't think it would be fair to bill residents for something they're not getting.
Yeah.
If that's,
They found 67.
so, yeah, yeah, it would be part of the town's budget. And from what I understand, it would be paused until something has changes, like more funding's available or the prices somehow miraculously go lower. You know, and I think if you unpause it later on, you might have to spend some money to refresh it. I'm not really sure. But
Well, if you get a half set of plans, you don't have anything biddable. You don't have anything you can do with that. So my inclination is to move this thing forward, at least from our perspective, as the old Lime WPCA, at least to the point where we have biddable documents. I mean, if we've spent, if our engineering contractor has expended roughly 50% of the effort to get us there, stopping now doesn't make any economic sense because we'll just have to start over again. And that becomes redundant expenditure on behalf of the whole organization. So that's my feeling.
yeah, part of the contract is we get copies of the plans in paper and digital. So it's, and there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, I got an advanced copy of the paper and it's huge. Yes,
In their Woodward and Curran contract, is the 615 design only or design administration? Is it up to bidding, then there would be another contract? It's usually the same engineering firms, the administrator.
so when you said administration, I was thinking some of the other things like submitting the bid and stuff. So it is up to the design. So we'll get a design, we'll get a bid where they go out and do the bid. We'll get the applications you have to fill in for clean water funds, you know, the 5,700 forms and all that. Because they've already done that part to tell you
So
the truth.
they'll bring it to bid
Yeah,
and we get the bids and then their contract is fulfilled.
correct.
Okay. And then if we awarded the project, that would be another.
That'd be a new
A new
contract.
contract for administration. Okay, so, do you want to make a motion on this now?
I don't think we need to, but we can if we want. I mean, the plan right now is I've submitted the IMAs again to the DEEP to get them to say, will you give us our funding? And our plan always was to continue. So we need a motion to stop it or we continue on our plan. That's the way I see it. I don't know, Frank, do you have a?
The status quo is moving forward.
You get it, so,
You know, if we get new information, we're gonna have a meeting and have a discussion if I think it's value, that there's something to it, but. So, okay. Any more on that subject before I move on to the next item? The next item's, status of additional funding and grant applications. I mentioned this earlier, doesn't seem to be, well, we keep hearing about opportunities, but we don't feel or hear anything good that completely makes us whole for everything that we need. There still are some discussions happening with the state, but I haven't got any good thing to respond. We did get ARP funds, American Rescue Plan funds awarded to us, that awarded to the town and awarded to us. And there's an application that I got that I have to look at. It's funny, it comes from Tim Griswold that we have to fill it out and send it back. We probably have to figure out, you know, that there's no time on it. Well, there's an application, we have to figure out the application and then how we apply those funds. Um,
Finish the design.
Well, you know, we apply those funds to reduce the amount that we pay, but we probably don't want to do a thing where we reduce our 25% grant. So we find a way to use the 25% grant for the funds and then apply the balance to reduce the balance before we go. And maybe there's some shared resources that we are not inside the design scope that we could apply those funds to. Okay, there's no immediate time, but I haven't read it. I mean, I looked at it. Jennifer was good to alert me to it, but I haven't read it completely. Yes.
Just a suggestion, I would like to see these stuff, so at least more people can benefit. But I just, like you said, I wouldn't want to pay something off that everybody grant to, maybe get 25% in. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's generally a good idea, because what you do then is you lower the amount of long-term loan that you have at the beginning of the loan. So, you know, it's more beneficial. So, and maybe we could do is we could put those funds in a placeholder until they're ready to be, you know, used. So there's some questions that come up with this that are logical. I will put together, look at the application, summarize it for the committee, summarize some ideas, try to research those ideas. You know, that'll lead us to having a motion to discuss what we're going to do. But I don't think it's like it has to be done in the next 30 days or even 60 days. But I will figure out what the limit is. I already mentioned how submitted the IMAs to the state for our grant. So I'll be checking with the state on a regular basis every week. It shouldn't have taken this long to tell you the truth, but I'm not sure what's going on with that. So I'm going to move on to the next item, the sewer ordinance, and I have to apologize. The WPCA committee members, I thought that I'd sent the legal edits from the sewer ordinance, and it was basically section 10, and apparently I haven't. I just sent them before this meeting. And I don't know if it's fair to have an active discussion about it. I don't know, Frank, did you took a look at it and you edited them. I mean, maybe this is something you can resolve, or maybe it's something we should postpone.
Well, there were mostly comments related to the federal statutes. A couple paragraphs that state statutes changed. The major items in section 10, which concerns the hearing board procedures. Initially, we just cited CGS. And then the lawyer told us to add more meat to it. So we added more subparagraph to it. Now he came back and said, you don't need those subparagraphs. So, I mean, it's fine because citing the speech. I mean, either way, we're danger of putting your own paragraphs in there. If that if CGS changes, then of course you have to update it. But usually you have like reasonable word as amended, CGS by the number as amended. My recommendation is to just cite the statute.
Cite the statutes.
No.
I think that's reasonable.
Spelling out what the hearing board is, but I mean, you can have that in your back pocket and someone asks you what we proceed.
So I don't know if it's reasonable for us. I mean, we could really, what I thought we ended up doing is a motion to say, except as Frank edited. But I don't know if you have seen it, and it doesn't make sense, and we probably don't have a rush on this. So what do you?
Statute on the system.
Yeah, unless someone disagrees, I think it's not proper for us to make a motion on it just yet.
I think that's right. I think give us a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I apologize for messing that up. Did too many things at once, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll reschedule this, and I don't think we were gonna plan on trying to pass this with the town meeting, in the middle of the winter either, so. We have time. So for the sewer ordinance, we'll postpone like these edits until next time. Does anyone have any questions about this before I move on to the next item? Moving on to the next item, correspondence. We had two correspondence, back and forth. One was from a contractor of Wood and Curran that did some survey work asking when they're gonna get paid. And I responded back to him more recently saying, giving the status update. Explaining that the schedule section of the contracts has a requirement that the state gives us a permission and that we amend the schedule with Wood and Curran. When we get the state funding, we will pay Wood and Curran, they will pay this contractor. And I recognize this contractor's been patient and it's been a long time. We don't have the money to pay this contractor. It's not part of the plan. It's never part of the plan. So unfortunately, he's gonna have to wait. The second one was from Brian Cornell, who asked for the contract between the town and the town's WPCA and a grant writer. We don't have a contract with a grant writer. We never did. So I responded back to Tim, who responded back to the person saying that we don't have it. We check with the private beach associations. I'll also point out that I had a discussion with one of the private beach association representatives today. They also do not have a contract with the grant writer, but they have grant writer volunteers. People that are in the business, that live in the community, that are willing to help them edit the grants. We have a grant writer, part of Wood and Curran, that's included in the services they provide us, and they give us advice, but and they fill out the applications that are pretty daunting for us with our approval. So those are the two correspondents. Any comments? Okay. The next item is new business, and for next year, we have to put a bunch of meeting dates. And I sent them to you. And we generally do the second Tuesday of the month at 7:30 PM. There's a couple times when we do a Wednesday to avoid conflicts with mainly the Board of Finance. And not to pick on them, but sometimes they use the room and there's no rooms for us. But basically, I did the same schedule as we did this year, with the same adjustments. Does anyone have any comments about or edits or changes?
I forgot, do we have a meeting in December this year?
So that is a good question. In December, we list as optional, and I don't think we're gonna have one in December.
I mean, this next month.
Yeah, so I was thinking no, because if we don't have anything to talk about, I'm sure you guys can figure something else to do. Yes, can have a happy new year. I can call it, but I'd love to, if you have any advice or any suggestions.
Looks fine to me.
So I would like a motion to adopt these meeting dates. Bear in mind, if we have a conflict like we've done in the past, we can change the meeting dates, but we have to publish it. So Dimitri did a motion to adopt the meeting dates.
I'll
Is that a second?
second it.
Randy seconded. Go back to the screen. Any discussion about the meeting dates? Okay. So we'll call for a vote. For those in this room, could you raise your hand if you're for adopting these meeting dates? Okay. Randy, if you raise your hand, if you're for it. Andrea, how do you vote? You might be on mute. Yeah. She voted in favor of it. Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. The next line item is public comments. If I can't see you, what you can do is raise your voice and say your name and I'll recognize you. I'm gonna unmute everybody in a minute. Just give me a second. Everybody should be unmuted now. They're allowed to mute themselves. Actually, Jennifer, could you just check to see if you can unmute yourself?
I mute myself.
Okay, so you have to, if you're calling in, you'd have to unmute yourself, and if you put your cursor over your icon, you should be able to see a unmute button. Does anyone from the public want to make a public comment?
This is Mary Daly. I would, please.
Mary Daly, recognized, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I can say with assurance that the majority of the homeowners you are representing in Soundview, Hawks Nest, and Area B really do not want this project to go forward because of the cost primarily, and actually the lack of testing. But we do very much want the finality of a decision so that individual homeowners who are eager to move forward with their own solutions can move forward without consequences later. Right now, let me see. Right now, the indecision is really hurting real estate sales. We've heard from multiple real estate agents who say that there's pollution, that there's a pending assessment, which will be significant to anyone who buys in our areas. We need to address this so that as a community, we can move forward. And we're not moving forward, and we haven't moved forward in 10 years. So we are asking for a decision to go forward. Let us do our green solutions that we plan to do, that we would like to do, that we prefer to do. You have gone far beyond the limits of due diligence. You have a significant case to present back to DEEP that you have done your job. It's time to stop and let the good people in Soundview, Area B, and Hawks Nest move forward with their individual plans. We truly cannot wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else like to make a public comment?
Dennis Maluzzo,
Dennis, you recognized?
thank you. Couple of things. One has to do with the WPCA site on the town website. There is a notation that if you click this, you can send an email directly to WPCA. It does not work. It should be deleted. This is the third time I've tried to send an email with that address, and it goes nowhere. I show it as sent, and it never gets received because I called after your October meeting regarding correspondence from Mr. Moynihan from Old Lyme Shores in reference to IMA, and have received nothing. And I was waiting for this meeting to elevate that problem. I don't know if it's a problem with when Michelle left the area or not, but that it needs to be fixed, because if you're asking people to give comments and stuff like that, they can't do it. That's one thing. The second thing is, when you filled out your ARPA funds, you had to tell them what you were going to do with the money. And it has to be used for what you planned on using. You can't sit on it. There's a 6-year lookout. You have to create a separate bank account. You can't, it has to stay separate of all your other accounting methods. You should have read that in the application before you signed it. And obviously you haven't received the check. So it's been sitting there waiting for you guys to do whatever you're going to do. That money cannot be, it has to be used for what you asked it to be used for. Can't be used to pay down debt. It has to be used for the certain projects that you are doing. My suggestion is give the money back, trash this sewer project right now, cut our losses at even $600,000. This town just voted in a $57 million school renovation budget when they haven't finished paying off on the previous one in 2013. To add this monstrosity to the taxpayers, the rest of the town just doesn't understand right now, but they will. That's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else want to make a public comment? Okay, going to end the public comment section. I would just say as a follow-up, we don't always get to do what we want to do. We have orders from the state that we have to go through, and that's what we're working on, and doing it right and not get any fines on us. And if we can do it, as the mission has always been, to serve the residents, all the residents, the most efficiently, we're going to try and do that. I wish projects would move faster and that we could say assuredly that this is over or this is going forward. I don't get to make that call. Private businesses can do that. Government agencies generally can't. There's rules to follow and procedures and so forth. So we'll do that. We'll follow through those rules and procedures. We'll try to get the best deal for the residents of Old Lyme. As far as the email, WPCA email, it worked for me, but I mean, I know you have to click and set up your email system. So it's, you know, you just click on it, it might just say what kind of email provider do you have on your computer, in which case the way you can figure that out is you right click and see what the email address is, and you can see it, and then you can just go to your email client and enter in that email. I'm pretty sure it's WPCA@oldlyme.
The links, there is a link you can click on, but the address shows right there.
Yeah, the address shows right there.
Type in WPCA online.cc.gov. We'll pick up the phone and call me, 860-434-1605,
Right.
extension 228.
I am getting emails, so I know my email's working. I don't get a lot, but I do get them, depends on what. Yes, and Jennifer sends me emails too.
All the time.
Thank you, Jennifer.
They'll send me the message.
Okay,
It's not a contact form, it's just a link with an email address, so I can try to put a contact form in there.
No, I'm not saying that.
No.
That may not be a good idea for the.
Yeah, we get contact forms from other departments, yeah.
okay,
I will also add, town's website is undergoing a major improvement in the next 3 months.
yeah, that's good, good. I mean, I think our town website is pretty good compared to other towns. Anyways, as far as the ARP funds, we're not using the funds for something wrong, something, or hiding them, or we're not using them to pay down debt, but if you pay off some expense before it becomes a debt, I think that's still applied, and it's for the project. So if there's some kind of suggestion that we're somehow deciding differently, we're not. We submitted the application, it was for the sewer projects, it was for defraying the costs, we're still using that same thing. It'll all be transparent too, so I'm sure you'll be able to see what the application is and what, you know, everything is submitted. Do you have a comment? Does anyone else?
Town entity like the WPCA, not gonna get a check cut to us from the town. We already have to get reimbursed and Nicole's gonna be intimately involved in it, so.
Yeah, the town gets the money and then the town distributes it or
Well,
handles it.
but to the outside agencies, they are cutting checks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't
fire
get a check.
department is not, I work for quasi outside agency. How it got submitted, we're under their umbrella. Now, if we won't, you know, the WPCA is not gonna get
okay,
the
so,
amount because, yeah.
so just, well, in case you didn't hear, because Rob's away from the microphone, we're not getting, the WPCA does not get a check. The town's director of finance manages it. Does anyone else want to make a comment about anything else before we close the meeting? Okay, so motion to adjourn? Okay, all those in favor? Second?
Aye.
Steve got second. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe night and, good night, and talk to you some other time. Thank you, everybody. Bye.